Hey everybody, it's Pastor John with your Midweek Moment for this week. And before I get to the main thing that I want to talk about this week, I want to take a second to thank everybody who participated in some way in our special Ukraine prayer service, which we had this past Sunday at 3 p.m. I am happy to be able to report that the service appears to have been a tremendous success. We had 40-some people here in church to spend some time in prayer. I think 42 was the number that I counted, but I might have missed a couple of people somewhere along the way. So like I said, we'll say in the 40s. We had a great reception, thanks to our friends at St. Andrew's Church. And all told, we raised just a little over $2,000 for Ukrainian relief. So if you did anything to help out with that prayer service on Sunday, if you showed up, if you contributed, if you were one of the deacons who helped with the setup and the cleanup, I just want to take a second to say thank you for that, because that service would not have been the success that it was without whatever it was you did. So thanks for that. Now on to sort of the main program for today. Last week, I talked a little bit about Johann Sebastian Bach, since last Monday was Bach's birthday. There's another guy I want to talk to you about this morning, a guy named Johann Pachelbel. I thought about Pachelbel as I was talking about Bach. You know, Bach is remembered today as, like I said last week, maybe the greatest composer in the history of Western music. Incredibly virtuosic, incredibly prolific, a man who wrote in every genre of classical music, and a man, like I said today, who is remembered as one of the giants. That's why we remember Johann Sebastian Bach's 387th birthday, because that's just how important he was. Johann Pachelbel was a composer and a teacher from the generation right before Johann Sebastian Bach. In fact, one of Bach's older brothers, Johann Christoph, was a student of Johann Pachelbel's, and indeed the very earliest surviving composition of Johann Sebastian Bach's that we have is a piece of music he wrote on the occasion of his brother Johann Christoph going off to study with Johann Pachelbel. And the reason Bach's older brother went off to study with Pachelbel was because in his day, Pachelbel was regarded as one of the greats, maybe the greatest of the greats. He was respected as a musician, respected as a teacher, particularly respected as a composer. Pachelbel had a career of over 30 years as a composer. In his own day, he was respected particularly for his contributions to a style of music that's called the fugue, something that Bach actually took to perfection. And he was particularly respected as a composer of vocal music. Despite all of that, though, despite the enormity of his reputation in his own day, today, if we remember Johann Pachelbel at all, we remember him for just one thing. And that's his Canon and Gigue in D minor. And let me get it up here for you. And this is a piece of music you probably recognize, although you may not recognize it as being by a guy named Pachelbel. It sounds like this. That's the Pachelbel's Canon in Gigue in G minor. You might have heard that at a wedding at one time or another. In my experience, it is the single most popular piece of music for the bridesmaids to enter on. But of all the things that Johann Pachelbel achieved in his lifetime, despite his reputation as a teacher, as a musician, despite his incredibly prolific career as a composer, that's the one thing that he's remembered for today. Now, I don't know what Johann Pachelbel would think about that. I don't know what he would think if he came back and realized that today the only thing he's remembered for is one particular composition, and a composition that's only about 5 minutes long at that. But I suppose it just goes to show you that you never know when you're going to do something that's important. You never know when you're going to do something that's really going to affect somebody else. You never know when you're going to do something that will be remembered. You never know when you just might do something that'll change somebody's life. I would imagine when Johann Pachelbel finished his canon in D minor, he did not sit back and say, now damn, that's the one thing people will remember me for. But that's the way it turned out. Because like I said, you just never know. And I think there's a lesson in that for the way we live our daily lives, because you don't just have to be a great composer to do something that people remember. You don't have to be a great composer to do something that will affect other people or that could conceivably change other people's lives. That's something that any of us can do. We all have that opportunity. We all have that chance to do things that people will remember, or to do something that changes somebody's life or that affects somebody in a positive way. Sometimes those are big things that we do for other people, but a lot of times they're not. A lot of times they're just small, little day-to-day things that we do. Jesus tells a story. He's talking to his disciples, and he says, even if somebody just gives a cup of water to someone who is thirsty, that person won't lose their reward. Now, you might think that just giving somebody a cup of water is the sort of thing that God wouldn't pay much attention to, but apparently God pays attention to stuff like that, and he knows when we do things that affect other people in a positive way, even if they're just as small as giving somebody a cup of water. And I suppose that's if we draw a lesson from Johann Pachelbel, that may be it. It's to never turn down an opportunity to do good for someone else. Never turn down an opportunity to do the right thing, because you never know when you're going to do that one thing that somebody remembers you for. Thanks.